Hello, this is Johnny again. Today's episode will contain profanity and talk about depression, possibly other mental health issues, and just wanted to provide a trigger warning for everybody so that you know what you're getting into. This podcast was brought to you by Borzilla Entertainment, LLC. Borzilla, roar. Borzilla, roar.
My Peter has had plenty of ups and downs, but follows till the end.
I want to take some naked pictures of anyone out there that's willing to let me.
Good. I needed a close-up photo of my gooch.
We all try to get along.
What liberals like to refer to as a delicate, snowflake, trans female. Conservatives have a slightly different name for me. It's Gallon.
I have 2 full weeks of my life that I do not remember at all.
Yeah, that ain't normal.
But luckily, I will never stop smoking weed.
And I packed a suitcase.
I will frequently stare at the sky looking for some spaceships.
No matter how much you want to kill me, yeah.
Fuck you and your fucking penis, because I'm tired of being the fucking whore in this story all the time.
All right, we're back at the Ain't Normal podcast. It's Johnny. I got a couple of guests with me today. I've got Liz. Say hello, Liz.
Hello.
Got Nick.
What's up?
All right. So, we've already done our trigger warning for the day.
Pew pew.
I want to thank again, because I think I may have forgotten to acknowledge last time, Analog Heart for letting us use their music for the intro. Maybe a tie-in with today's discussion in Analog Heart we might get into. But again, I'm so happy they let us do that. They don't have to. A couple of things I want to mention since the last time is the lady that inspired the very first episode. If you've listened to the Fundy Daycare Ain't Normal episode, the lady that inspired that, and we had a lot of good fun at her expense. She passed away since the last recording, and I took a lot of shots at her. I haven't released the extra innings, the bonus content from that, but I did say the one thing I liked about her is she was always like fun. She always encouraged kids to, belong. I remember her letting this kid swim in his blue jeans. She didn't care if he got in trouble with the parents or whatever because he didn't bring a swimsuit one day. I remember her telling me, it was like, well, what was I going to do? Tell the kid he can't swim? Everybody else is swimming, and he can't swim in his underwear, so just let him swim in his blue jeans. She was like a big-hearted woman. She had some crazy, crazy beliefs. I didn't realize it was her family that actually started that crazy daycare, which makes even more sense now. But also, Kevin hadn't been here since the first couple episodes. I wanted to acknowledge his absence. It's not today's his anniversary. He couldn't be here. He wanted to be here for this one. He's also got some conflicts with his schedule. But I always want to be a part of anything I do, mainly because he's a great sidekick. He's a great he's somebody to keep me on schedule, and his commentary is brilliant. He's just a magnetic person who's just spot on funny all the time. Has a good way of making other people feel happy and in a good mood. So hopefully he'll be back next time we record or at some other point. I hope one day he can be a part of more of a part of this, and as my schedule gets a little more clear, then maybe we can make that happen, or we can do another project together. Just want to remind everybody of the former members, Moo and Robin. I got to see them New Year's Eve and since at some open mics and comedy shows. They're doing well at hashtag somewhere, and check out Robin on her Facebook and everything. Christy, who was on our second episode, has a new page called Crafters Place. I asked her what it was. She said she's selling her shit. So Crafters Place Co. Check that out. And with all the news lately about people doing blackface, I probably shouldn't bring this up here, but at one point when I wanted to do this, one of the crazy stories from my childhood involved a certain school putting on a in full blackface Songs of the South, complete with Uncle Remus and a bunch of kindergartners doing a minstrel show. I know it sounds crazy. I just want to say that I was a victim of this incident as much as anybody. it really brought back to the attention. You'll get that story one day. It's not something I'm proud of that happened, but I think it's an ain't normal / crazy kind of story that has to be told at some point. And I'm sure, hopefully, if I tease it now, people actually maybe want to listen when it happens. So we're going to get into that one day. Yes, there is a picture of me probably out there. I'm not the governor of Virginia or anything, but and at least I have the excuse that I was 5. I didn't make my decisions back then. So we'll get into that one day. I want to do an episode on mental health since the beginning, since before I even started recording. And originally I was going to possibly have Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Amy. That's an affectionate name. We're friends. I was going to have her on and kind of have her talk about it because I kind of understand the struggle she's gone through. And to be fair, I probably shouldn't call her Crazy Ex-Girlfriend because of my crazy girlfriends, she's like I wouldn't say least, but bottom 2 crazy ex. She's probably the bottom 2 of the crazies. Again, trigger warning, we will use words like crazy today. But she couldn't be here. And then since the last recording, 3 of my friends have been institutionalized or had some problems. So it's like, do I really want to do this as a dick joke podcast about mental health issues? But I've talked to Nick, and he's like, yeah, let's do this, man. Let's do it. He's willing to talk with us today, and and talk to Liz, who also wanted to have from the beginning. Liz, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Liz.
Matter of fact, we'll start with the pimp your shit segment. I like to allow people to tell, as a thank you for coming on. I like to allow people a chance to talk about something that they want to promote and have all of our dozen listener possibly come to your page or whatever you're into, your charity, whatever thing you want to promote.
Okay, well, I make handcrafted jewelry, and I usually will work with wire and beads and stones and crystals. I do have an Etsy shop. It's Strong Soul Shop, and you just go into Etsy, just type in Strong Soul Shop, all one word, and you will find a few of my things there. I have a ton of them still that I need to post, but I haven't quite done that yet. But if you're into like nature-inspired jewelry, things like that, that's where you should go. I usually do bracelets and earrings. I've been working on necklaces, and it's been really fun. That's something I really like to do. Really enjoy doing it.
Good. I've seen some of the jewelry. I've known some people that's purchased it. Really happy with it. I know you had some Buddha stuff at one point.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've even thought about getting something like that for my mom at some point. I'll have to talk with you. But yeah, that is a Strong Soul Shop.
Yeah.
Did you ever think of making your shop something that's not a tongue twister to say on? Well,
whenever I was first trying to figure out, it was so difficult just trying to come up with a name, and that was the one that I came across and was like, okay, I like this one. Mm-hmm. So after a few hours of trying to figure out what the name of the shop should be, I was just like, this is gonna be it. This is it. Tongue twister. It's gonna be it.
Tongue twister and all.
It's gonna be it. Yeah.
All right. Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Nick, and I'm a crazy person.
Trigger warning, we will use ableist language on this program. It's unfortunately part of our title.
I don't really have anything to push or to promote. Maybe NAMI. No, not the local sushi restaurant, but I believe it's National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Yes.
When I was in the Carolina Center a few months ago, I've never been to any meetings outside of the hospital, but they came in and did a couple of group sessions with us there. Very helpful. I know that they've helped a lot of people, and it's pretty sure they do meetings. You can just look it up online. Pretty much any, Anderson, Greenville, they're all over the place. It's free.
NAMI. All right. So we're going to talk about, I guess, really it's up to you guys what you want to talk about, but we're gonna talk about depression, anxiety, those kinds of things. Is there anything somebody wants to start off with about, like, when did this start for either of you? Have you always had some?
I've dealt with it pretty much all my life. When I first started performing, over the last 20 years, I've done a lot of performing on stage and things of that nature. And I think that was always my safe space. Everything outside of that
brought you anxiety?
Yeah, being on stage in front of 3,000 people, 200 people, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Every other aspect of my life was just shit.
So you've
To
been,
be blunt.
You've been singing for a long time, right?
Yes.
And you've also done some DJing.
Mm-hmm. I was on American Idol.
You were on American Idol, got passed through.
I didn't make it to the voting stage, but I was just there. Just there.
If you,
Simon called me ugly. Basically. In his own
nice.
special way.
That's very nice when he. Well, I mean, he's
it's his job.
Yeah, it's his job to be a dick. You had you did Sugar Pie Honey Bun, right?
Yeah,
I've seen that YouTube
Sugar
video.
Pie Honey Bunch. Yeah, it's out there somewhere.
Yeah. So you always been a performer. There seems to be, I don't know, a lot of performers seem to deal with anxiety, depression, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the longer I've gone, the more I've dealt with it, and especially since finally getting bad enough, I turned into a cutter. Never done it in my life.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to commit myself to the Carolina Center. I sat on my back porch with a razor slicing my arm for 3 hours.
Good God.
And that was that was my turning point. I thought that well before that I'd hit bottom, but not so much.
So had you just never addressed it before that moment? Or did you just?
Well, I guess that's one reason for me wanting to be here is that, I mean, it's different for everybody, I feel. And one, also, since I've been out of the hospital and have made a little more public the things that I've gone through, it's amazing to me how many out there are dealing with it and don't talk about it.
Exactly.
I've had a lot of people come to me that I never would have thought in a million years.
Yep.
And they're like, thank you for posting that on Facebook, or thank you for, saying this or that, because I didn't know, I never would have thought in a million years you, somebody that's performed and, that they see the outside, they don't see what you're dealing with on the inside.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not talked about enough, mental health.
No.
It's really not.
There's a stigma,
Yeah, and I think people are worried about the stigma, they're worried about showing vulnerability, so they don't necessarily want to talk about it because they just, just that whole stigma thing.
Yeah, it's
and it should be brought to the light more. It shouldn't be so taboo to talk about stuff like this, because when you need help, there needs to be you need to know that people are there to help you, and you're not on your own with this.
Yeah, it's like, as of yesterday, I've been diagnosed with hypothyroidism. Nobody's going to give a shit if I go pick up my Synthroid prescription, right? But if people start talking about, what they've had to take for anxiety or depression, or if they've had to go to counseling or whatever,
right.
All of a sudden you just, I don't know, some people have historically just put you in the category of off or crazy or something, and it's like,
right.
You don't do that to diabetics or people with high blood pressure or anything.
Right.
It's challenging that way. It's also challenging because I think it's challenging because it affects your personality, and it's one of the worst things. You hear people who don't have depression, and I'll state out front, I don't have depression. I don't think I've what people describe as the depression I've never had, but I've always had a curiosity about it. I've dealt with people, I've dated people who did. It's so common. You have to have friends who have depression. You have to have friends or loved ones that deal with it. And I think a lot of people just kind of push it down,
right.
And then
suppress it, and then it just explodes.
Yeah,
one day.
A lot of times when you're dealing with depression, even you don't know what is wrong or what's coming from or what's causing it. Even
right.
I've been going to counseling for 6 years.
Okay,
and it's. Even before, because I was in the Carolina Center back in August. And he said I've been going to counseling for 6 years, and the counseling has probably more than anything kept me from killing myself, and made me feel a little bit, I wouldn't say normal, but as bad as I was, stable, being able to function,
right.
Regularly, and go to work or whatever, and just carry on whatever life I had. So yeah, but I definitely recommend counseling across the board. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying there? I told you. Okay, electroconvulsive therapy in action right here. You wanted to talk about that. So I did electroconvulsive therapy while I was in the Carolina Center, And I think I did, which is basically they hook you up with what do you call those things?
Electrodes.
Electrodes. And,
I've got this for the listeners. I've studied this. What happens is they shock you really hard. You levitate off of the table.
What?
Then a giant Native American man smothers you with a pillow, breaks the sink out of the some abandoned room, and then runs off into a field.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
That's a Cuckoo's Nest reference. If you're spoiler alert, that's how One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay.
All right. So, and I think that movie possibly had a little stigma attached to it. Nurse Ratched is always referenced in pop culture about straight jackets and Nurse Ratched and electroconvulsive therapy where they shock you and you're just like
electroconvulsive therapy they knock you out and they give you what do you call it, a paralytic?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it? And they induce a seizure.
Right.
I guess to jumpstart certain parts of your brain, in hopes to jumpstart your brain, I guess. You guys would know better than I would any terminology.
That's straightforward.
I had about 6 sessions total, and basically, my psychiatrist thinks I have some brain damage from it. My short-term memory, like as I told you earlier, I may forget what we're talking about 2 seconds ago, and start the same conversation over again. But at the same time, I'm not dealing with the depression anymore.
Right.
So I guess it's a trade-off. So yeah, if I lose track of what we're talking about, that's other than just being a guy,
It's okay. It's better for me. I get to edit, so if I have 2 copies, I can pick the one I want. We'll just play a little.
Do you feel better now?
Oh yeah, I still get a little bit of anxiety. I had an episode probably about 2 weeks ago where I was sitting in my living room and just bawled my eyes out for about 2 hours before I finally drove over to my parents' house and they were able to calm me down.
Right.
But I'm on 4 medications. I take Xanax 3 times a day now. 1 milligram Xanax 3 times a day, plus a few others, gabapentin and a couple others.
Any mood stabilizers?
I'm on naltrexone and I can't remember the name of the other one. It starts with a C.
Okay.
But I'm not no antidepressants or anything like that. Xanax, gabapentin, naltrexone, and something else. It's in my car. I keep them with me all the time.
No worries. I'm just just curious, kind of.
But antidepressants never worked for me, and I've tried pretty much every one of them.
It is hard to find the right one.
But none of them ever worked for me. They even did the the DNA test to see what medications would work on me.
Yeah.
And none of them did.
That's kind of why I was curious, because if I could be wrong. I'm obviously not a psych medical professional, but I have studied some electroconvulsive therapy. They use a lot for bipolar disorder, right?
They do.
Yeah, but I guess if regular antidepressants aren't working, then it could probably trigger some part of the same brain, because I guess with bipolar you have the giant mood swings, like the really manic versus super depressed.
Well, that would be like there's 2 types of bipolar.
Right, and about type 2 is where you don't really get the mania.
I thought there was 3.
There's 2.
2.
There's at least 2.
I learned that in the hospital. I knew there was at least 2. I learned that being in the hospital.
The first one is the one that you're talking about with the big
type 1
swing. Yeah,
that's the ones where people end up like having the cocaine fueled weekends, fuck around, and then end up in the hospital drinking a milkshake and eating chicken nuggets.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna have to do the dick joke. I kind of want to tell a story, but it's not my story to tell, so I'll possibly save it for if Amy Crazy X ever actually comes on the show.
And I'm sure all of us here are someone else's Crazy Ex.
Yeah, so. Exactly. No,
so no harm there.
The common denominator in any relationship I've had is me fucking things up, Well,
I can relate.
But no, she wasn't manic depressive or anything like that. It was just something that reminded me of a joke I'm writing. So that's why I was curious about it. I guess I wasn't sure that exactly what electroconvulsive therapy is usually used for. I guess it's I was thinking it was the mood swings or the maybe just the, like you said, it's just to restart parts of your brain and maybe see if it'll even out some of the lows.
You had 6 treatments of it.
Yes.
Is that the maximum amount that?
No, I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to still be doing it.
Okay.
Because you do. I think technically it's 12 sessions, and then you do what they call maintenance sessions after that, like every few months. I only did 6. And the main reason, he said, I was in Carolina Center in August, and so anyway, I'm out of the hospital. I'm standing in my front yard smoking a cigarette and looking at my phone, and I noticed the date. And I immediately called my parents because they've been great through all this. I couldn't have asked for a better support system. And called my parents. I'm like, why does my phone say September 9th? I thought it was still August.
Oh, wow.
I have two full weeks of my life that I do not remember at all.
Oh,
I apparently went to a job interview during this period. Yeah, and I have nothing. Two complete weeks of my life I do not remember. I don't remember my last week in the hospital, and I don't remember a full week after being out at all.
I'm sorry for laughing, but
sure?
No, it's trippy. But
Are you sure you weren't abducted by aliens?
maybe.
And I'm being completely serious.
Maybe
she's being
I mean,
completely
we can save
I
some
believe in
conspiracy.
aliens.
Oh, I do too. We can save that for another episode.
Yeah.
I'm totally down for that.
Me too.
Yeah, we can. You and I can talk about that.
Yes.
I'll give you a little insight into these two people here. Liz is one of my favorite people in the world that I've known for 2.5 years now.
I guess. I think so.
Yeah. And Liz is a super emotional person. I often joke that I can tell how someone else is feeling if I can see Liz look at them, because she seems to just channel everyone else's emotions. She's also into all this hippie crazy shit that
I am.
chakras and crystals and stuff.
Yes.
To the point that
Yes.
I kind of want to take her to Arizona where they have the vortex.
Well, you got to take me
weird
then.
Vortex shit.
I know what you're talking about.
But I'm afraid if I give her a vortex map, she'll never come back.
Take me with you. Take me with you.
Okay, we'll go.
Now, I do want to do one of those trips out to like near Area 51 and all that. Before they shoot you, like you stop before you get near Area 51 and that part of Nevada, and the whole Arizona. Like apparently, anywhere out there in the desert, you can see some crazy shit. Especially, you can really see the stars and at night and everything. So
I've been wanting
take
to
some
buy
more
a
trips up there.
telescope just so I could look and see, because I will frequently stare at the sky looking for some spaceships.
Looking for your
do.
people.
Yeah. Apparently, there was the Orion's Belt. We came from one of those stars, apparently, in the Orion's Belt.
Are you referencing Men in Black, or are you talking
No,
about that's
no.
where our chemicals came from?
No,
Are you talking
because
about
all the ancient civilizations,
Genesis?
they have all of their pyramids and everything, all across the world. All the different civilizations, they mimic the Orion's Belt, and it has been said that we have come from one of the stars. I think it starts with a P.
So you're not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. All right, so a little
Okay, sorry, getting off track.
little insight into
So this is
Nick.
where Kevin would probably be here to be like, all right, guys,
Exactly.
get back on track.
Yeah, and I'm ADD, so this happens a lot with me. A lot.
Liz is super ADD.
Yes.
But
Yes.
and OCD,
And OCD. Mm-hmm.
depression.
Haven't been diagnosed with depression, but the
Do you feel like
anxiety
you've
part.
got it? Oh, the anxiety. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I have these different issues: the OCD, the ADD, and the anxiety.
Which is all part of a
It.
family. It's like a spectrum of.
Yeah, because usually there's comorbidities when
Right.
you can't. You don't usually have just one issue that you're working with. Usually there's a few others tacked onto that. Depression, though, I guess it could be part of it, because there are many a day where it is impossible for me to just get up, and I can walk perfectly fine. I just
You just can't get out of bed, can't move.
get out of bed or get off the couch. I feel like this huge weight is on me, and I cannot get up. I start, I'll be thinking about all these different things, the what ifs, things like that, and start to worry, and then I just won't get up, and it's almost like I have chained myself to that area, and
You're just stuck.
yeah, I'm stuck.
See, I get the anxiety, but
And
I
the
don't
smallest
have it at that
tasks seem
Monumental. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It seems impossible to do it. And even something like vacuuming, you're like, oh God.
And no matter how
oh gosh,
bad you
oh
want to
gosh.
do it, sometimes you don't win the battle.
Yeah.
Nothing gets done.
See, that I get. I definitely have that level of anxiety. I don't have the level where I've been at a breaking point. As a matter of fact, I just had my yearly checkup, and I told the doctor, it's like, and it kind of goes back to this John Mulaney routine where he's like, he's like, you can't just go to the doctor and be like, I get anxiety on airplanes. Can I have some benzodiazepines? You know.
Right.
But if that's really your problem, that's what you should do, because he does the whole bit about how he ends up getting his prostate checked because he came in with a bullshit reason and like, I pee like 11 times a day, and you're like, oh really? We should check your prostate. I have that level of anxiety. Matter of fact, you know Adam. I was hanging out at Adam's hashtag somewhere place one night, and people's names, everything triggers a song or a comedy bit with me. It's like my brain's constantly just going out of focus and stuff. I said something like, sometimes I wonder if I'm on the spectrum of disorders, like I don't think like other people. He's like, no, you just have anxiety. You have anxiety like I have it. Like I can see it on everything that is like everything that you are. Like you're anxious all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, I do have that. But and I told my doctor when I was at the doctor's office, I'm like, I don't have a level of anxiety I feel like I need to come into the doctor and be like, I need to be treated for this. He's like, well if you do, talk to me, man, because I don't want you to be embarrassed about it, because there's too many people who won't talk about it. I'm like, well, no, I don't get the breaking point. Like, I get stressed. I get where...
natural levels.
I think for a lot of people, it's not recognizing the difference, because for me, until I got the help that I needed for most of my life, I can think back on, some old relationships and some instances where, she and even myself, well, I'm just an asshole. Yeah. Well, I look back and it's like, no, I was having severe anxiety and panic attacks.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I didn't, I'd never discussed these things with anybody. I didn't know anything about it. That looking back, I've been dealing with it for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And there were, had I gotten the help, and been going to counseling, years and years and years ago, well, I probably would have been a different story. But even I, going through it, didn't realize that I was dealing with that.
Right.
And
I think
I couldn't put a name. Couldn't put a name to it.
You get overwhelmed, and like Liz has at least seen me before. I don't get to those overwhelmed like panic attack. I'm like I've had one or two instances where I just cried out of nowhere, but like that's in the last 25 years. I've had one or two of those.
That was daily for me for almost daily for me for about 20 years.
I just get into the I don't want to joke about Tourette's, but I get into that cocksucker motherfucker, goddamn it.
Yeah.
Liz saw me one night just like get overwhelmed, and like there's a lot of beeping going off where we work, and I'm just like, I just need everything to stop.
That's it. Yep. You said everything just needs to stop.
Everything just needs to stop. So
I remember that.
I get that level of it, but the other part about it, thoughts of harming myself, that kind of thing I've never had, and I'm always like curious. It's a difficult thing because I think it's like what is the personality? What is it's and substance abuse is the same way too. It's like,
which was a big part of my
what's the disease you're having, and
substance
what part
abuse.
are you being an asshole? Like,
Substance abuse, like drinking is usually, or drinking or like drugs, anything like that. Usually that is like a self-medication, like you're self-medicating by drinking, or
because anything feels better than what you're feeling when you're not that way.
A lot of people smoke weed like legitimately for anxiety. They're self-medicating, but they're self-medicating because they're anxious.
I support that completely. Like I will never understand why it's illegal. Because the stupid things I've done on alcohol. I've never done. Oh my gosh!
I can vouch for that.
I woke up in a ditch one morning near a red light. I can't believe the cops weren't called on me.
not on September 9th, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
All right, cool.
How many times in the time we've known each other have you had permanent marker on your skin?
Oh Lord!
How many times have you woken up to pictures?
Were you part of that?
No. No,
I was Adam.
I was there.
I went to work one day. I was kitchen manager at a local restaurant. The GM comes up behind me while I'm prepping. He's like, Nick, you worked at the bar last night, or were you out last night? I was like, yeah. It's like, you got a dick on the back of your neck. I'm like, oh, Jesus. He's like, yeah. Luckily, he had a good sense of humor, so he laughed. I went to the bathroom and washed it off and carried on. But
I mean, these stories are funny, but they're also kind of,
with friends like you guys.
No, I had no hand in it. I don't mess with people when they're like that, because I know I don't know, there's a weird state of vulnerability in it that I don't want to fucking violate. You know, it's I'm not the one that gets the joy out of that kind of stuff.
That makes for a good story, but thank you for not taking part in that.
No, I'm not going to do that. All right, so I'll tell you a little bit about Liz. Nick, I've known since we did a 5K together at some point. And
Yeah?
I talked to you afterwards because Kevin knew you.
Was that when we first met?
First met at the Midnight Flight.
Midnight Flight.
Years ago. And then it wasn't long after that, the Denver Downs 5K.
Yeah.
I finished that. Kevin finished that.
I didn't run in that one. I DJ'd
No,
that
you
one.
DJ'd it.
Yeah, I DJ'd that one.
It's like, hey, Nick's over there. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the guy that was, But we've been friends on social media and hung out at some bars together and stuff. And I was just amazed that, and obviously people know who you are. Your dad is I don't know if he's a legendary DJ, but I've seen him. I've seen him at weddings. I've sang karaoke with him.
Yeah,
he's known.
Oh yeah, between me and my dad, we feel like everybody knows us.
Yeah, and you've DJ'd so much shit, and like you've been on American Idol, so even if you don't know people, everybody in town knows you.
It feels like it.
Yeah. So Nick would have this innate ability to think of something that's a controversial topic. If I would just pick, I could just go on Facebook right now. I've got like 500 friends. I
don't do it as much anymore.
I go abortion.
That's the word
And
I was
like,
thinking.
2 days later, somebody might be like question mark, sad face emoji, and like what the hell are you talking about? Nick could name a local mega church. Just put the name on a post.
So have we mentioned my last name on here yet? Nick Whitten.
Nick Whitten. 1,700 fucking like comments later, people are like, "Look, motherfucker, if you come down to my church and say that, I'll whoop your ass."
I was
like,
really good at stirring the pot.
It was
And unintentionally sometimes. I just wanted to hear opposing points of view. Man,
that was one of my favorites. It's
that was fun.
There are times I've gone straight like argumentative after Nick, but my favorite posts are his where he doesn't take any side or anything and just fucking post something.
I'll just post and I won't even comment.
It just stays out, and then you got like people literally inviting each other outside. Like, man, we're on a digital medium here. Like, I'll take you outside. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It's like you just typed a word and was like, and go.
And that's exactly how my posts would go. Here's the topic, and go. That's how they were.
It was.
It's exactly how they were stated.
It was hilarious because I believe someone dragged you to. Oh shit! I just said their name. I'm gonna bleep that.
Yeah, so somebody wound up dragging me to that local mega church
for probably fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some good people. I got dragged.
It was good entertainment. Good light show. Great sound system.
I got dragged there once, but my issue with church is not I've said before on here I'm not a believer in any religion, but my issue with church is not that they don't have shitty rock music. I'd rather hear hymns. Like you break me out on some How Great Thou Art or Amazing Grace, I'll sing. My mom will sing a little like half beat past everybody. We'll get together and we'll yell it out together. But like if you do some like watered down new metal-y shit and call it Jesus rock, I'm not in. I'm not in. But you can wear your shorts. You can wear your cargo shorts. But that's not what makes me.
Help me in.
That's not what makes me go to church. Is that I can dress down, like kind of like putting the suit on and singing Amazing Grace. And I'm not shit up like a lot of people shit on that.
I mean, it's church is the only time I ever dress up. So
yeah,
right. That's Sunday church clothes.
Unfortunately, somebody's getting married or dying when I go now. Oh, like this is the sad part.
So mental illness, you say?
Yeah. So sad. So obviously, there's some chemical side to depression, anxiety.
Right.
All of these things are chemicals, hormones, but they're affected by environment,
upbringing. That could have a
upbringing.
It does.
Too.
I think this is what we're talking about. Like for me, I was born in 1977. We moved here from Kansas City, Missouri in 1983.
Yeah.
And man, I was 6 years old maybe, and that was a strange experience. Especially when back in 1983, the Southern accent was way thicker than it is now. Yeah. And
Yonder.
But I was, even being 6 years old with a Midwestern accent, I was a Yankee,
Of course,
or whatever.
You're not.
I felt out of place. And basically, once we moved here, I was kind of the outcast, I guess, immediately. And, I'm not looking back or trying to think. I don't know the reasons or whatever, but I was bullied all through elementary school, junior high, a little bit in high school. Great family, but the home situation was stressful.
Right.
Siblings had some issues. Was dysfunctional. I love my family. Like I said, I couldn't have a better support system. And the older we've all gotten, it's gotten better. But yeah, all those things definitely play a part. I mean, I'm sure that chemical imbalances or problems with the brain or connections or whatever, play a part. But through the counseling and everything else, you start to realize that some of the other things that have contributed to it and made it worse. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I was bullied most of my life, and then I go from after I got to high school, I was in a Christian band. Never smoked, never drank, didn't cuss. I was a virgin until I was 19.
Yeah.
Started dating this girl and started going to a Baptist church. I'm in a Christian band. I'm a Baptist for like 2 or 3 years. And, singing in church. I was in a Christian band. We broke up. I did church for a little bit longer, and then I found a local bar that I started singing in. And so, like, overnight, I go from, the bully to, whatever kid who, Bible thumper type. I'm the guy at work reading my Bible on my church break, on my lunch break. Yeah. And so I go from that to playing at that local bar, and that was
different world.
Yeah.
Baptist is not your background initially, though, right?
No, I was raised Mormon.
How big of a switch was that?
Not as different as you'd think.
Or did you not just jump all in either one to the point that you start separating them up or anything?
Yeah,
I'll just go. We do what we do.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. There's something in there that I wanted to follow up about, but I'm blanking on it now.
Moving.
Mm-hmm.
Moving from Kansas.
Well, we were talking about how upbringing or things in the past can contribute to the depression or anxiety and the hidden triggers.
Yeah. So you can't necessarily
recognizing
isolate. This is what causes it.
Yeah, and I believe even if it is completely a physical imbalance or whatever, or whatnot.
It is genetic.
The outside stimuli, the things that made you who you are growing up, are those two together.
Yeah. It's like cancer. You might have cancerous cells, but some of your behavior may cause them to progress. I mean, we probably all have cancerous cells inside of us, but they're not metastasizing. They're not even, you couldn't even detect them, but certain behaviors increase the likelihood of that. Anything you want to say about triggers, Liz?
Well, I've been trying to look back and just trying to go through my life sequence and trying to figure out what could have caused all of, the OCD, the ADD, the anxiety parts. My childhood was very, I don't know the word for it, I'll just kind of describe it a little bit. My mom and dad divorced when I was young.
Right.
And I won't get in too much about my mom and dad's relationship, but it wasn't exactly a good one. And then my mom, being a single mother, she did the best she can. Like, I love her very much. We have a great relationship. She's a great support system for me. I go to her with everything, and I'm so lucky to have her to be able to talk to, and her to be so accepting and helpful. She was doing the best she could. I had a lot of father figures coming in and out of my life, and not all of them were great.
Right.
Not all of them were great, and just kind of the situations.
A lot of attachment and then detachment.
Oh yeah. And it's hard for me to open up a lot because I'm afraid people they're gonna leave me. I don't really talk to a lot of people because I'm worried that if I do, they're either going to hurt me or I'm going to get really close to them and I'm going to get left again. And I can't handle that a lot. So that's not good because that prevents me from, living a great life. It's a good life, but it prevents me from.
You feel like you're always on guard.
Right. Right. And
somebody, if they knew who I really was.
Well, if I talked about all the things that I think about the off the wall stuff, or what they're going to be like, wow, she's weird. Like, so that's an issue. I worry a lot about losing where I live. I worry about that a lot because the houses that Mom and I lived in, not all of them were great, and she was always worried about losing the house. And so now that I have taken that with me, and it's still instilled. Now I'm like, oh, I gotta do everything to make sure, and I'm constantly worrying and trying to have like all these, it's like a constant worry.
It's like you have to be hyper vigilant about everything, and what you're trying to be hyper vigilant about, you don't really have any control over. You don't have control over what other people think of you. You don't have control over, like, there's some situations you don't have control over whether or not you're going to make the mortgage or not. I mean,
right.
But you feel like
I worry a lot.
You have to worry about it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that too. I think that's part of the anxiety. But, again, with the difference being, it's not, I think the difference is intensity. I think everybody has those thoughts. Everybody has those.
The inability to turn it off.
Right.
Rumination.
And like, a lot of people will be like, oh man, I hope I don't lose the house. And whereas other people are like, holy fuck, I'm going to lose the house.
Even if everything's great, everything's fine.
Perfect,
it's still
like that.
Like getting to the point where you're
the
like
sky is constantly
prepping.
falling.
Right.
Oh, I was prepping for a long time.
My mom does that.
I have cans and cans of green beans, corn, grits.
Want to see my pantry?
Sugar, salt, rice.
My mom will she will get like those those packets that take the air
Moisture absorbers.
She gets that and fills up rice and puts it in my pantry and says, here you go, we're going to give you this. And I'm just like, okay, thank you.
5 gallon buckets of sugar, salt, rice.
MREs?
The
the buckets that you can get from the
That's another interesting thing about Mormons is that it's my understanding that the Mormon Church has enough food storage to feed the entire world for 3 days.
Really? Wow.
Mormons are very big preppers.
You know who else is big into the prepping now? He sells buckets on TV.
Who?
Jim Baker. You're probably not old enough to know Jim Baker.
Who's that?
He's still around?
Yes, he is. Now he's gray-haired. He's lost a lot of his hair, and he's got a white beard. So Jim Baker's now selling buckets of food for like, I don't know how much on, because the end is nigh, and even more nigh now. No, it's nigh. It's right nigh.
Right nigh.
But so that's.
So are you still a prepper?
No.
No, because I want to get back into it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to start the gardening, the greenhouse. You never know. I'd love to do that. Anyway,
I think I couldn't do prepper because it would just lead to hoarders. What's that show about hoarding? It's called Oops, There's a Dead Cat. So what? We've talked about some of it, but what do you wish people could understand? Like, I know you want people to understand there's no embarrassment in getting help and that kind of thing. What do you wish people could? If we could get a look inside your head to deal with this, what would you want them to understand? Like,
oh my.
Well, for me personally, it would be that from my personal experience is that, up until I finally got help, even I didn't understand, so I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know what to talk about. Right. I remember my first real anxiety attack that felt like a heart attack. I called my mom, didn't know if I should go to the hospital or whatnot. But that was years and years and years ago. But like you have here in your this printout you have for us, what ain't normal about dealing with depression? I think what for me the thing that sucked is how normal it becomes to you.
Yep.
That's all you know.
Yeah.
It feels like you can't escape.
And you can't understand why other people can't see it, and you're also afraid to talk to them about it because the response you get is, well, feel better. What's wrong? Or
what do you have to be depressed about?
What do you have to be depressed about? It's like it's not as simple as that.
What do you have to be diabetic about?
Basically, yeah.
Or you try to talk to them about it, and they'll be like, "We'll just fix it. We'll just go do the thing." And
go for a walk, have a hobby or this and that. And it's like, and you may try those things. If you can even get out of the bed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But and it may work for some people. Like I still believe it's again. I'm not a doctor. I've just been in the hospital for these things. but even being in the hospital, one thing I learned is that with all those people there on my wing, is that it's. I mean, the word depression is general, but it's still an individual thing. You know, everybody deals with it differently. Everybody experiences it differently. I mean, I'm sure that there is a general way that everybody experiences it. You know, because people that go through it can relate, but it's still an individual thing.
Right.
You know, so all I can speak on is my experience. But what was the question again? Am I answering the question?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Just what you wish people would understand. I think that's got to be frustrating because, all mental health issues are different because, like, sociopaths think that everybody thinks like a sociopath. That's why you can get them to fill out these questionnaires to determine that they're a sociopath because they're not answering like they think a normal person answers. Yeah. They're just answering like everybody else. Yeah, everybody would do this.
Yeah.
But with depression, I think, I don't know, do you see, like, did you ever get to, like, how do these motherfuckers get out of bed so easy?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like, do you have that moment?
Like, why is it so easy for everybody else and not for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or how are they getting all of this done and I can't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do and you try so much to try to do things like quote unquote normal people, normal speeds, and it's impossible.
It is. I one day went to a local store, and when I pulled up in the parking lot, my anxiety kicked in. It wasn't so much a depression that day, but I've been diagnosed with I think it's called dysthymia, with major depressive disorder and severe anxiety.
Okay.
But anyway, this is before I went to the hospital, and before the events that led to that. I pulled up in the parking lot of the store one day, and it was daylight. When I never got out of the car, I could not make myself get out of the car to go in. When I finally left, and I had sat there so long inside my own head, I didn't even realize how long I'd been sitting there.
Oh, wow.
Until I realized it was dark and there were headlights on.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'd been there for probably a couple of hours just inside my head, paralyzed, not being able to get out of my car.
Do you remember what you were thinking about?
Not now, no. The electroconvulsive therapy wiped out a lot of stuff.
Sorry.
But some of it for the better, though, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do that too. Like,
I mean, sometimes it was. I do recall that sometimes, and because that wasn't the only time that happened. That was probably just the worst. It was. Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling like this? It wasn't necessarily anything causing it. It was more me arguing with myself, like, why is this so hard? Why can't you do this?
Yeah.
That there's nothing. Just go in the damn store.
It's like you talk to yourself and say, "What is wrong with you? Just get out.
Yeah.
Like just get up. Why can't you get up?" And it's almost
you're
like
still stuck.
You have this opposing thing, and I was thinking it's interesting.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Yeah, your brain is pretty small compared to the rest of your body. How can it control everything so well? Like the, of course, physically and all that, but the emotional part and all of that too is.
Well, that's the thing is, like, even when I was aware that I was going through those things, it's like I still couldn't fix it. I still couldn't get past it.
I don't have
I think that's
what
what makes normal people's anxiety different from people like us. I'm assuming you and I is just what I'm saying.
The resilience.
Is like, even though I'm aware, I can't get past it. There was nothing I could do about it.
We've been going for a good while now. I think we can.
I'm tired of talking to you.
You're tired of talking to me?
Yeah.
Thought we could talk a little more.
And there haven't been enough dick jokes.
I was just gonna save it for something I charge people for down the road.
Fair enough.
We do this thing called extra innings. I think it's about time to take it there. It's just anything else we want to talk about that will provide for people who pay me to do this later when I start monetizing the podcast. So
anything
you want to talk to it all. What would you like to talk about?
Not the subject of...
Doesn't have to be about the subject.
Prepping.
If you can do aliens and prepping, I'm definitely going to ask Nick a little bit about...
I'm pretty sure that I saw a 3-foot gray at the foot of my bed one time.
Did you? Tell me about this.
No, do not tell him about this yet. Well, thank you both for joining us. Thanks again to Analog Heart for the theme. I'm very happy y'all came by and told us your stories. We're going to go to extra innings.
Thanks and goodbye.
Okay, everybody, thank you for listening. We really appreciate having you here. listening, and we hope you learned something. And really enjoyed talking with all of you and talking.
I never realized before, but everything that I do is carefully calculated just for you. I've shied away from bangs and I've taken off all of my favorite rings, specifically 'cause I know that you're not into those things. I can't remember what I like. You got to me throughout my life. These thoughts I'm thinking, baby, aren't even mine. This torch, it burns for me this time. It ain't easy to reclaim what you've never